Okay, video start, whatever. Anybody has any questions before I move on to those weird oddities? Like, it's a good time to be asking questions. If you're not sure how something works.
Is the Thief Motherstone still viable as of right now?
So I don't think you, again, I talked about min and max thresholds. If you're too low of any of those mean thresholds, did you jot that down, Xavier? I hope you did. If not, you should go and look back at the video when I upload it. If you're hitting way too low on the min threshold, you want to try to raise it. As long as you're inside the min max thresholds of the maximum magicka, thief, and all that, you want to use the Motherstones to get back you up into those thresholds. So it was really never, but even the last patch it was the same thing. If you have way too much crit chance like you would on a Magicka Nightblade, you actually would end up putting the statistic, you end up using your Motherstone, putting it into something else, like your Max Magicka or something, or your Shadow Mundus. But that was specifically from last patch. A lot of people, let me tell you guys, right, I'll give you guys this small little thing. People who do those YouTube videos, if they found out something to do an end game build that lets them do the most DPS in their trial setting, there's a really good chance that they won't share it, alright? So whatever builds that sometimes you just copy and copy blindly, you're going to be stuck at whatever other average player is going to be using. So get off your asses and start reasoning with the game's mechanics, because they're not hard to figure out. There is ESO guides in our Discord channel, and remember that you always have access to that. Hashtag ESO guides, and you just look in there, in ESO guides, and then I put it in the video how you search up for that, and then you're gonna look for specifically mechanics. So I'll go ahead and link it again for, whoops, it's in this one. I'll go ahead and link it again for those people who missed it. Copy link, and this is basically your textbook of the game. Alright, see Trojan horse, there we go. So I just linked it inside the Trojan horse chat. If you need a textbook and you need help figuring out how should you put your build together and you want to get the most of your DPS, I'll tell you just once and for all right here. I mean, I'll probably end up repeating this again, but if you just copy other people's build, you'll obviously be doing average DPS. You're doing average work, you get average DPS. What's so surprising about that? Anybody who is doing end game stuff, right? Again, there's a pretty good chance that probably won't talk about their builds ever. So you need to kind of figure out, if you want to get ahead of everybody else, I mean, you don't have to be competitive with each other, right? You just need enough DPS to do end game. I'm not telling you guys to do that. But I'm telling you guys, if you guys need doing some unorthodox build, like you guys want to do a Stem Warden Bobo build, or you want to do a, you want to do a Nightblade, and you feel like you really love crit chance and you want to burst the thing out of targets. Like you like bursting, you don't like consistent DPS, like a Stem DK has to constantly wait for, the longer the fight goes on, they get more DPS, but if the fight stays for a short while, they don't really get a lot of DPS, right? And sometimes you don't want to be waiting for execute phase, because you might never get there, or if your group fails to be getting all the way low in that DPS, look inside that thing which I just linked, right? Just kind of, everybody here has passed math. We only have Chinese and Japanese people here, with a few exceptions of some from some other Southeast Asian non-Orientals, which is fine. Just go ahead and read things there. I'm just using that as a funny stereotype. So everybody here passed math. Just kind of look through the rules, and it's not really that hard to figure out. It barely took me several hours just kind of read through this and figure out what works best, and then you just kind of work out your way on that. But again, the main thing is that you want to try to keep your character sheet when you're buffed. Just get your spell power, your spell damage, your spell weapon power, or your spell power procced, and everything, your minor savagery and all that to proc on the dummy, and then just see your character sheet. Is it within those min-max thresholds? If it's not in those min-max thresholds, you want to try to find a way to get back in there. If you have to use precise, if you have to use infused or whatever, just go ahead and just use those. It honestly doesn't matter. People have already checked on PTS, and most of the Motherstones and most of the most of the traits, they only really have a difference of about 300 or 300 DPS among all of them. And this is again 300 DPS for people who are above 30k, right? For anybody who's under 30k, they're not gonna see more than 100 in terms of change in DPS, whether or not they're using the Thief Mundas or using the Lovers Mundas or whatever the heck. If you don't fall under the presumption that your rotation is godlike and so your gear is at fault. Don't do that. I can tell you that I've played with people, I've done trials with people who have been running PvP gear, like they've run Red Mountain and like Spriggans or whatever. Like you don't like Red Mountain and Spriggans? What? And they're running some odd monster set or something like Celestrix or Stormfist. And those guys can get over 45k DPS in trials. I've had weird situations like that. And on the self-buff DPS, they can go above 25k. Even though it's not hitting 30k, it's above 25k. So I can tell you that for a matter of fact, that first of all, it comes to your rotation before anything else. The better your rotation is, the more your gear would give you back in value, right? Think about it. If you're rolling a Dunmer, and Dunmer says what? I can't remember what Dunmer with the fire bonus damage. Can somebody tell me? Hello? Come on, somebody tell me quick.
What was that?
Dunmer.
The bonus?
Dunmer bonus damage from fire, yeah.
7%.
7%.
Okay, so 7%. What's 7% of 10k? It's only 700, right? Right. So if your DPS rotation is crap, you're only getting 700. If your DPS rotation is above 30k, you get how much of that? You get 700 times 3. You get 2.11k. So doesn't that make more sense? The better your rotation is, those percentage modifiers, don't they scale? Your gear, they only give you more of your value back if you can do your rotation right. So basically, unless you can get your rotation, I mean, I'm not asking a lot, like if you can only use trash pots, it's fine. But if you guys can get at least a rotation down for 26, 28k, right? Then you want to start looking at your gear. That's when you start looking at your gear. When you get past 30k, like where I am or like whoever, when we do theory crafting at, then that's where you can comfortably say that, okay, I think that I want to start working on my gear. Because I feel like my gear, I can do something better by min-maxing using my gear. But before that, just pay attention to your rotation first. Your rotation is always going to hold you back. You're going to always have presumptions like maybe you are doing something right in your rotation, and then you are using sharpen, right? And then you use precise, and then your rotation was crap. And then you're like, oh, so precise is bad. That's not correlation. There's no correlation in that. You want to be making sure, and this is just you kind of just basing assumptions just because your rotation was bad. You just shove it onto gear. Don't do that. Always be looking for things in your rotation to fix, and try to get it right. You don't need to practice so hard in the dummy. Take breaks, play the game, do your vet dungeons, play with your. We have how many people on Discord right now? I just from asking people to pop on Discord, I have more people that I need to do one trial. So it's not that hard to just whisper people and ask them, hey, would you like to do content? I'd like to get to know you. We're going to play an adventure. It's a bloody game. It's an RPG. Have fun. And then, like, you work on your rotation. Like, for me, I don't care about my rotation when it comes to the freaking DPS dummy. I care my rotation on Tempest Island. I care my rotation when I'm DPS tanking. I care my rotation when I'm doing trials mechanics. That's where your rotation matters, not the DPS test dummy. I think it's shit. Maybe it's because I came from a time when we did not have DPS test dummies. But again, content is what matters at the end of the day. Okay, so those oddities which I talked about earlier, let's go ahead and get through them. And I think I ranted way too long.